Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Bunny or Gun Bunny. And this channel is about my journey through guns and cosplay. Now this video was inspired by something that was pointed out by my friend Deviant Olam, who's also a YouTuber, and this thing will appear on the screen, about one of my more recent videos called about the Browning Auto 5. There's an aside that I have in a conversation with my mentor talking about when I was actually like a little teaser of me using a Luger, talking about how the safety on the Luger is super stiff and I probably will need help with that if I'm using it at a brutality stage. And he clarified that, again, I have gone to brutality many times, that like you don't necessarily need to do that. Like what they want you to do is, show like, rack out the round, dry fire down range, hammer down, empty pistol, and then safe it in whatever way that is reasonable. So for like holster it, whatever, right? Mag out, etc. So, but they will say the phrase clear and make safe or something similar to this, right?
If finished, unload, show clear. If clear, hammer down range.
And so for me, whose competition pistol has pretty much been the Glockenstock, which its safety is a dingus. I kind of didn't translate in my head for a really long time as like apply safety, and often like with my rifle, yes, I will apply my safety, right? Even when it's empty, but like it's not necessarily the steps that are instructed when they say make safe. They're not saying engage safety, right? You could have a loaded pistol and turn the safety on. There's still a round in the chamber. That's not what they mean. They want you to empty the pistol of rounds and magazines and show that and put a chamber flag in, right? Like that there's a difference between engaging in the safety and whatever. Okay, so Steve pointed this out and was, talking to me about this and was saying like, it's something that's interesting, especially for a lot of new shooters. And I was like, yes, that's really interesting. And especially for me as someone who's autistic, I take things very literally, which is why when I hear safe, I think safety. And obviously people who aren't autistic, like that's probably something that they've thought of as well, especially if you're newer to guns. But like this is common, something that actually recently happened to me, which was, I'll give an example of like taking out the trash, right? Or someone says, hey, would you like to take out the trash? And I just look at them, I'm like, no, I would not like to. And I'm very confused why they're asking me, like, does anyone actually emotionally enjoy taking the trash out? If you do, I would like to meet you. But what they had meant was, hey, please take out the trash. It wasn't a question about my emotional feelings on the removal of waste from the building. It was more of a request to do an action. And for me, that's not what translated. What I heard was, would you like to take the trash out? And obviously no. But even if I don't like taking out the trash, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to do it. The answer to, would you take the trash out, please, is sure, of course. You're like, it's not a, that was the miscommunication. So for me, like that's an example of something, I take something very literally. And so this is why often I will clarify with my mentor these things, especially in competitions where safety is really important. Now, this led me down to a whole thing, which is different competitions have different rules and different things that they mean. And so for me, with only having experienced brutality, like I know what they mean for whatever pistol I'm doing, or whatever competition I'm doing. And I'm really used to shooting my Glockenstock, which the safety is a dingus. But for example, and so for me, not turning the safety on is not touching the fucking dingus. Or for something like a CZ75, the turning the safety on is clicking a little lever thingy, right? Like they can look very different. And turning a safety on for something like carrying, where you might have, where you're gonna have a round in the chamber, but you might have the safety engaged on your pistol if it has an actual safety rather than a dingus, is very different than clear and make safe. Because making it safe is clarifying that like this is an empty gun, not engaging the safety, which could accidentally cause some safety issues, right? Like if they had said clear and make safe, and if they said make safe, and I understood that to just mean engage the safety, I'm holding a Glockenstock, it has a round in the chamber, it has 30 round magazine, I just put it down. Therefore it's made safe by the definition of engaging the safety, versus what they actually mean, which is rack it, or just drop the mag, rack it, dry fire down range, holster. And so I think that's really one of those things where it's like, these clarifications can be important, especially when you hear a word like make safe and safety, you may associate, like I associate them with the same thing, even though in the situation, I know and I have known for a while, because I've gone to brutalities a lot, that what they want me to do in terms of the actions of clear and make safe. Almost to the point though, like when I'm automatically done shooting a stage, I will just start doing those actions. And so it's become kind of a, I haven't even thought about it anymore, right? So like, I'm not really thinking about it, but since there's no safety to engage on the Glockenstock, I didn't think about that. And so like for my what would Stoner do is a rifle that does have a safety, and so I turn that on automatically. But this whole thing made me think about this, which is really interesting. That's because what a safety is different on each pistol, and what that can look like is different on each pistol. But make safe, depending on, you know, interpretation, can mean different things, right? And then that made me think about more things like other terms like condition 3. What does that necessarily mean, right? Like, for example, for my rifle or my Glockenstock, which are both semi-automatic mag-fed guns, right, it means safety on it is one besides the dingus, but like hammer down on an empty chamber with a mag inserted, right? So basically, if I had just have my pistol in my holster with a hammer down after it's been dry fired, I just shove a mag into it and I don't touch it. But for like, I'm getting into like more cowboy guns, so then next time I want to use, basically the next time I want to use it, I pull it out and I rack it around into it. But if for cowboy guns, that's a little different. Like for my revolvers, condition 3 means that I put 5 like cartridges in, and then I after I do 1 and then I skip 1 and then I put 4 cartridges in, right? And then I have a like very slowly do the thing that stresses me out so much, pulling the trigger while pulling the fucking hammer. I know I'm going down on like an empty cartridge, like on an empty chamber, right? Like there's nothing in there in the chamber that I'm putting that one on. That's the whole point, but it still stresses me out, okay? But it can also mean hammer down on a fired chamber, right? But like, so if I'm shooting my single action army, right, and I shoot it and I go pew, and I don't cock the hammer, and the hammer's down and just shot the bullet, right? I have to fucking pull the hammer again. So that's also, you know, or for tube, like that's also the same thing. Or for tube-fed magazines, you know, you shove them in the tube, but you just don't rack anything into the chamber. And the safety in itself is the fact that like for a single action revolver, that you have to pull back, like there's hammer down on the empty chamber. So if you have to fucking cock the hammer again to even get around to line up with the barrel. So that all being said, I think it's interesting, especially when I started because I kind of started with more modern guns and started going into more historical guns, and so they were like condition 3, and I'm like, okay, I know what condition 3 is for my fucking, you know, my what would Stoner do rifle, but I don't know what that necessarily means for this revolver or for this lever gun or for this shotgun, right? Like, what does that mean? Or, you know, when we talk about, you know, make a pistol safe, sorry, my phone's telling me I have low battery. When we talk about making a pistol safe, often in the competitions, at least I've experienced, right, there is the procedure of, you know, mag out, rack around, dry fire down range. Or, you know, sometimes in the instructions, there will be drop your mag and then take a high value shot so that we know that it's empty. Sorry, I forgot where I was going. Oh, and the fact that I've, you know, shot a good amount of competitions, but when I heard the words like outside of the competition make safe, I was like, oh, but I can't engage the safety. I mean, I think that's a good instinct to have, is to like, even when it's all empty, is to engage the safety. But it was one of those moments where I was like, I have not like used a pistol in this kind of context with a safety almost ever in competition. And so I am not used to having to think about, like, I'm like, oh, but I can't do it because I'm like, okay, I know there's safety, so I engage the safety. He's like, no, you were supposed to do these steps that you know, you do this with every pistol, right? I was getting tripped up on the word make safe when the actual instructions translated to something different. And I think that's something that's really interesting about language in general, but especially like language about learning these things. And, you know, like in my experience, if you're not sure what to do or whatever, like ROs will tell you, but it is something I assume must differ from competition to competition. I'm interrupting the video to tell you really fast about my Patreon. Now, if you don't know, my channel is not monetized through YouTube and I don't do sponsorships. So this means that my only means of support for my channel is actually through my Patreon. There are multiple different levels with different types of extra content and perks that you can get, all starting at just $5. I would personally really appreciate if you joined it. I have trying to build a lovely community there, and I would love to see you there. If you are not a fan of monthly subscriptions or just don't really want to do Patreon, that's totally fine. You can always support my channel by liking my videos, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Other ways you can support my channel, of course, is through my P.O. box. I have a tactical gear wish list, as well as always being open to messages. I think I have an Amazon wish list somewhere too if you want to get me something off of that. This shirt was off of that, which is lovely. I'm also always open to messages. If it's like, hey, I want to get you something for cosplay. There's some cosplay makeup I've been wanting, or there's tons of stuff. You're always welcome to message me. I have tons of social medias, which will be on screen now. So thank you. And please enjoy the rest of the video. I plan to try out other types of competitions, even though I'm quite partial to brutalities, and I probably will stay partial to brutalities because they're just, out of everything I've like seen and heard about, they seem like the most my vibe, but it is my journey, so I want to try everything. And so I'm like, bring me along in this, and this was a discussion I had that is part of my journey, and something I was thinking about that I think is kind of interesting, in terms of like, especially with like new shooters and stuff, as someone who is like newer to the world, this is the one area that I'm like, okay, I've learned a little bit about, and this is something I realized I was like, yeah, this is something that's interesting to talk about, and like maybe people have their own experiences they can share or questions or whatever. I might not be able to answer it, but someone else might be, because like I still feel like there's still a lot to learn, and especially my own literal interpretations of instructions, especially with safety being so important when you're shooting guns. It's a really interesting concept of like, you know, like for example, use like rock climbing as an example, right? Like there are certain commands that you use that both like, you know, the climber and the person who's belaying has to understand. And so it's kind of like being a shooter and an RO. You both have to understand, you're supposed to have to be speaking the same language so that no one gets hurt and nothing bad happens. And thankfully, I have an amazing mentor who is a great teacher, and even though I've been to enough competitions to know, remind me sometimes when I have a brain fart. But yeah, no, I think even my kind of like, yeah, I'm still learning. This wasn't like a safety issue. It was like, oh no, I'm still learning and blah, blah. Like, no, like I genuinely like love that I'm still learning, and I love sharing that with people because I think, personally, I think it's fun to share my progress with y'all. I hope that you guys think that's fun. New shooters, experienced shooters, I'm not like like I like to say, I'm not an expert and I'm not here to be one. I'm here to share my experience. And this is part of it. Kind of a little bit more of the behind the scenes type things, almost like, not like behind the scenes, but like a lot of the stuff that I don't really share are some of these discussions I have with my friends, with my mentor, right? Like a lot of my early journey was clarifying these things, was going through and being like, okay, but what does this term mean? Okay, but in extreme detail, like you're explaining to an idiot, what does this term mean? And I don't think that all of those are going to be interesting videos, and so I don't share a lot of that, and also a lot of that was like a year ago. But as I'm learning this stuff and as I'm exploring more things and I'm trying to do more competition shooting, more stuff like this, I think it's interesting. And the fact that this is something that came up with a previous video I posted, I thought it would be an interesting thing to continue on. And if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's like called Browning Auto 5 or something. It's on my channel, and you go to like the end. You should watch the whole video. Do it. And subscribe. That one too. Sorry, okay, can we just talk about my outfit really fast? I know this is really, I have ADHD. Let me be ADHD, okay. It's so fucking cute. It's been a while since I've done like a full outfit like this. Yes, Hunter. Yes. Hunter's yelling at the door that he's of the room. The door's open. I love my cat. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've like been motivated to put on a full outfit like this, and I love when I dress up like this because it makes me feel like me. I mean, when I dress up anytime, it makes me feel like me. I have a lot of different styles, but like dressing up fully with accessories and makeup and whatever, and like experimenting with hairstyles makes me feel like myself. I like to make myself a little art piece. So I hope you like it, and if you don't, that's okay. I love it. I love this outfit. I'm gonna definitely wear this outfit again because it's way too cute not to. Fuck. What was I gonna say? Probably shouldn't wear this shirt to the range though, just because of what I learned about fishnets. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Now my cat's staring at me. What do you want, Bunt? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that whatever, yes, this is my channel. I do lots of varied things. I don't know, a lot of different things. It's very fun. I have fun. I, do cosplay and also sometimes rant about outfits because I think they're cute, and so you get to deal with that. This is about me. It's my channel, so I'm, it's very eclectic. It's not just going to be me documenting things like a blog, right? It's going to be, oh, this thing interested me, or oh, this is a funny thing that experienced, and it may not, whatever. It's my journey, and so it's kind of like I'm an eclectic person, so it's an eclectic journey. Bye!